Jim Giles of the GreenBiz Group wrote an important and heartbreaking column on greenbiz.com. To review the past year, he says he planned to write about how the pandemic has affected sustainability in food and ag. But he writes, he kept thinking of the number of people felled by the virus and asked himself different questions. Why didn't companies and regulators in these sectors do more to protect workers, or at least compensate employees for the risks that they took on? His column points out that the investigative reporting by the New Yorker, the Midwest Center for Investigative Reporting, and others revealed a number of examples of companies failing to implement social distancing and deterring unwell workers from taking time off. It's hard to be precise about the impact of these failures, but they surely play some role in the alarming high rates of COVID. The U.S. Department of Agriculture found in counties dependent on meatpacking jobs. He also points out that Donald Trump issued an executive order in April that he claimed required meatpacking plants to stay open. The order did not do that, but it was effective PR anyway. Company executives and the former president faced a choice: safeguard workers and their communities, or ensure a steady supply of chicken nuggets. He says they chose the nuggets. He points out that workers on farms were, like retail employees, initially declared to be essential, only to have that status watered down. In October, a study found that 1 in 5 farm workers in Salinas Valley here in California tested positive for COVID antibodies. Because of such high infection rates, federal vaccine guidelines state that ag and food retail workers should be among those second in line for vaccines, right behind healthcare workers and residents of long-term healthcare facilities. But it's up to the states to actually implement those guidelines, and workers in these jobs are typically poorly paid and more likely to be undocumented. They are disproportionately people of color. Here in California, for example, excess mortality among food and ag workers jumped by 39% during 2020, more than in any other occupation. For Latinx agricultural workers, the increase was 59%. Black retail workers, 36%. White workers in food and ag, 16%. But there's one piece of good news that he points out. Unilever, one of the world's largest food companies, publishes human rights data about its operations, which it uses to benchmark progress towards a commitment to paying all suppliers a living wage. The company is also committed to spending $2 billion every year with suppliers owned and managed by underrepresented groups. If Unilever hits its target, that one company alone will ensure that more than 250,000 people in its supply chain, many in developing nations, will receive a living wage. When a pandemic or other disaster next strikes, every one of those people will be better able to protect their families. In this column, he also discusses grocery workers, and that is an essential read at greenbiz.com.